Well, welcome back to episode number 57 of the Blazer Victory Podcast. This is your co-host, John Duncan, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Steve Irvine. And Steve, do you have a good bye week, buddy? It feels like it's been a while since we've talked.
Oh man, yeah. It was I, like everybody else had to rest and rest these old bones, and I'm ready to go. I got all my injuries. Well, no, at my age you don't really get over the injuries, but no, I'm refreshed and ready to roll, and still have a little bad taste the way that the pre-buy ended, but it's a chance to get rid of that coming up on Saturday.
No doubt. Yeah, just ready to get back out there on the field and definitely get that rice taste out of our mouth and bring on La Tech. La Tech comes into town this Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff. It'll be televised on CBS Sports Network. But as always, make sure if you can't make it out to Protective Stadium, get those radios out and tune in to Jocks 94.5 FM with David Crane, Steve Irvine, and Trey Ragland on the call. And I believe pregame starts at 10 o'clock from Todd's English Pub. But Steve, we have a fantastic interview that we just did with Evan Spencer of Go Tech Please Don't Die that will roll in a few minutes. Evan and the guys do a great job over at Go Tech Please Don't Die. But let's just kind of talk about this Louisiana Tech team, coming in 2-6, 1-3 in conference play. And, we kind of talked with Evan. This could very well be flipped. The record could be flipped and they could be coming in, at least 5-3 though. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, this is not a 2-6 team. I mean, they yes, that's the reality. I mean, because they haven't finished some things and some things have happened that but I mean, this is a team that could be, you're talking a team that could be 6-2 with very well, should have wins over Mississippi State and SMU, and could have, a win over, a ranked NC State team. So, you're talking about, a totally different conversation if they finish those games. So this is a talented team. Now there's you don't know where their head is. When you've lost 4 in a row and had expectations of being a good team and you and your record says that you're not, then that's tough. I mean, it's tough to see where your head is, especially when you're in this day and age of the transfer portal world where you have some guys that really don't have a lot of buy-in to where they're at, and this is certainly not just at Louisiana Tech or UAB or anywhere else. I mean, this is just in general. Right. Kind of where college football is right now, college athletics is right now. You have guys that came in for different places that for whatever reason, and are they really bought into where they're at? I don't know. I mean, in some cases yes, in some cases no. But we'll see. I think it's a lot of times you see teams when they're going through bad times. Band together and especially when they're a better team than what they're playing, because this is a better team than what they're playing. There's some teams where you'll see a 2-6 team and they're truly a 2-6 team. I mean, they're just not very good. This one doesn't fit in that category. This is a better team than their record indicates. And so I expect them to come in and play really well on Saturday. I mean, UAB is really going to have to come in focused and play well to win this game, in my opinion.
Right, and they're well coached too. Skip Holtz has been there for a while, and we know he's done a great job with that program. He's kind of having an unlucky break this year, but we know they're well coached. Yeah,
I mean, sure they are. I mean, he's had a lot of success as a college football coach, and he didn't just all of a sudden forget how to coach. So. Right. It's just one of those things. I mean, they've had some bad luck, and he's made some mistakes. But we're all we're all human, and right. So there's times where we've all made mistakes, and so but it's a well coached team, no doubt about that. And they have a lot of veteran guys, a lot of guys that have had success. Guys on the team that beat UAB last year, and in a game that still gives me nightmares a little bit, but this it's again, it's anybody that looks at this and says, oh, they're 2-6, this should be a easy game or easy win or whatever you want to say, that you're crazy, or you haven't turned on a tape and watched them, or you just look at a record. And I mean, it could be, again, this is a team that could have had some big wins, and they haven't, and so should be fun. I mean, when these two teams get together, it's always a little crazy, yeah, and they don't like each other, and so I think a key part of Saturday is going to be who plays with the most discipline, because
Right.
I think that I think there's going to be a lot of chippy stuff going on, and just because the natural rivalry of it. And so whoever plays with most discipline is, has a better chance of winning this game, and whoever doesn't turn the ball over and, has a better chance of winning this game. And, just things like that. I mean, I think that's going to be important, just like it is every week, but, sometimes it's magnified a little bit more. And, I think it is this week. And I do think, and I've always said this, when you're playing a struggling team, especially a team that's capable, if you punch them in the mouth a couple times early, and put that doubt in their head, then it's going to be, it's certainly to your advantage. If you let them hang around a little bit and let, they make some plays early, get that confidence going. It's kind of like Rice, and not that Rice was struggling necessarily coming in, but Rice got a lot of confidence early.
Jumped up 13-0.
Right. And just built on that, and so it's the same sort of thing. And UAB had done a nice job up to that point of jumping on teams early, did against Tulane, did against FAU, Southern Miss, and they had done a good job of that. Just didn't do a good job of that against Rice. And I think that that's going to be, certainly a factor in the game. I mean, obviously, as we've seen, you can jump on them early. That doesn't win you the game necessarily, because you still got to keep playing, because, anything can happen after that. But, I think that'll be kind of important on, on Saturday. And the other thing is even though the bye came at the absolute right time as far as health goes, and just mentally, and also not just physically, but mental health, a little bit.
Yes.
But you still, anytime you come off a bye, you still have a little rust you have to knock off, and I think that's going to be important that UAB handles that well, that kind of knocks the rust off quickly. And so it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun. I'm glad we're back out there. I was glad I'm glad for the week off, because I think a lot of people needed it. But yes. We'll be glad to be back out there.
Definitely. And I can guarantee you that, Clark is going to have this team ready for Louisiana Tech, regardless what that schedule says, because, you just look back at the Rice game. To be honest, the energy wasn't there the whole game off the UAB sideline. Came out flat. Rice punched us in the mouth, jumped up quick, 13-0, and honestly never really looked back. UAB fought hard to have a shot at the end to win that game, but give a lot of credit, to Rice. But honestly, when you look at that Rice game, I don't think that kind of opens up the team's eyes to not take any game for granted. Like this, La Tech's coming in 2-6, but hey, they're not going to forget what happened on Halloween last year in Ruston.
Oh no, there's certainly no, absolutely not. And I do say this. A lot of times we talk about teams coming out flat and weren't ready and all that, but a lot of times game dictates it a little bit. Like in that case, UAB comes out and stops them stops them right away on defense, and then makes a mistake. Running the punter, and then they get the first down, and they end up scoring on that. I don't know that that's definitely a part of being flat. I just think that you make a mistake early in the game, and it kind of kind of snowballs on you a little bit. So
that's fair.
Fair. Not that I think that they obviously played well early on, especially, but I think sometimes we sometimes it's just a mistake that costs you, and that gives them confidence, and that it's very. As you could see in that game, and we've seen it the other way around too, is when you convert a fourth down. I don't care if it's fourth and an inch. I mean, that was 4th and 2, but I mean, when you convert for a 4th down, and they did it 5 times, but when you
5 out of
convert
5.
I mean, you convert a 4th down, that just there's something about that. I mean, the 3rd down conversions are great, and if you keep doing a lot of them, it really deflates the defense. But there's something about a 4th down conversion that just I don't know, motivates a team. Just kind of takes a team to the next level on both sides of the both offense and defense. And so I think it was a little bit more of that than just pure being flat. Not that, again, I don't know that they certainly weren't overly excited, but I don't know. I think it was more just kind of making a couple mistakes early that snowballed on them.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Steve, because you look at one of those 4th down conversions, the fake punt. Louisiana Tech actually ran a fake punt this past Saturday in Norfolk against ODU, and that's the first time that I believe Skip Holtz has ran a fake punt in at least a year or two. So that'll be something, that I know, Heath Thomas, he'll have the special teams ready for, especially what happened with Rice getting away with that one. But I was going to say something else, but yeah, definitely something to look for.
Yeah, and I think too, anytime you're facing a team that's struggling, and that almost and Coach Clark talked about it, Rice, a little bit, doing the same thing, is when you really have nothing to lose, those are dangerous teams. Those are dangerous. Now it's not really in Skip Holtz's DNA to be too much of a gambler, but he does, he does some trick stuff, and he could do it a little more in this situation, and and maybe if they do get a lead, instead of getting conservative like he's kind of famous for doing, maybe they don't this time. If they were to get rolling or get a lead, so you just never know what you're going to get when the team's struggling. I mean, will they just come in and fold, or will they come in and just kind of play like their backs are against the wall? And I think that's what you're going to get from this team, because it's still a talented team. And, you'll hear with our talk with Evan, I mean, I still think they're very good defensively. They just played a lot of good offenses early. And I do think that they have some playmaking. I keep waiting for Marcus Williams to really break out, because I think, when they signed him, and when they brought him over from App State, I really thought, oh boy, that's huge. And then Austin Kendall, we'll see if he plays. Evan talks a little bit about that, but I think it was his shoulder, from what I understood, where he got hurt. So if he doesn't, where they go from quarterback there, and so there's some things to be answered that we really won't have answered until at least we see them in warmups, and maybe even we'll have to wait till the ball's kicked off on some of this stuff, but. Again, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be, these teams don't like each other. Crazy things happen when they play, and it would be nice to get a little payback for what happened last Halloween.
Yes, please do, because I was going to say this year's Halloween was a lot better than last year's Halloween.
It was. It was. There's no doubt. That was not a fun evening for the Blazers. It was a great evening for, the way it ended for Louisiana Tech, but, for our side of the coin, it was pretty miserable.
Yeah, that was a long ride home from Ruston, man. Oof.
It was, and there was a lot of angry folks, and a lot of, point about what if. But I mean, I don't recall what we said last year after the game, but I know, looking back on it, there was a lot of, just like the Rice game, that, you're frustrated about some things that happened. Yes, you feel like some things got taken from you, but, bottom line is you got to look in the mirror and say, we never should have been in that position. I mean,
that's right.
Should have been. And that's the way you have to look at it. That doesn't mean you can't be frustrated about what they took away. But you have to, in those cases, you don't grow unless you look at yourself and say, hey, what could we have done to keep that from happening? And I think that's exactly why, Coach Clark has a good, bad, and ugly every week, because you can't just throw, you just can't just keep, you can't whine about this and that and the other. You got to look at the good, what you did. You got to look at the bad, and you got to look at the ugly, and you grow from it. and you certainly grow more from the bad and ugly than you do the good. I mean, as far as growth, as you move forward, because that's where, you look at that and you got to go, okay, I could have done this or I could have done that, and I mean, I look back at that last year's Louisiana Tech game, and there were so many moments of that game, and, we probably beat it to death last year, afterwards, but so many moments of that game, plays could have been made, that would have just changed the outcome without getting down to the end. There was drop passes. There was the Hail Mary at the end of the first half that was just out of bounds. Great catch by Garrett Prince, but he was just out of bounds. There was mistakes. There was, just pick sixes. There's things that if you just make a play or just do one little thing different, you never get down to that. You never get down to the end. So, you just got to look at it that way and move forward and get ready for Saturday and have a good time.
Definitely. Now, real quick, before we roll that interview with Evan, I did want to mention that Coach Clark did say on his coach's show Monday night that Dwayne McBride should be available this Saturday, which is good. That he did say if it weren't for the bye week, if we would have played a game last week, he said that he would have had to sit out because of his ankle injury.
Right.
But he should be available for this Saturday, which is good. And the last thing I wanted to hit on is I really like our tight ends in this matchup. When you look at the ODU game that La Tech just played this past week, that tight end for ODU had a hell of a second half in that game against La Tech. And I know that both Garrett Prince and Hayden Pittman should, get involved early and often in the passing game this Saturday against Louisiana Tech, or at least I hope so.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, obviously, I think that's something that they've, that UAB's done anyway. But yeah, I think in this case, you look at that matchup, problem right there for them, and I think that you got to expose it. But one thing I want to kind of go into real quick before we move on is, I just hate that we're going on without TD Marshall as on the field. I mean, I think that guy has been such a leader for this program, and you saw him on the sideline early this year when he couldn't play. And here's a guy who came back for to try to better himself in the in the NFL scouts' minds, and you have another year playing cornerback, and had just have so much bad luck injury wise, and then obviously is out for the season now, and it's just a shame. But the great thing is with him is you'll see on Saturday if he's there. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Sometimes with surgeries, you have to. I don't know when he's had a surgery. If he has, I don't know any of that. But sometimes if you've had it, you can't be on the sideline as much. But if he's able to be there, he's still going to be leading, and he's still going to be
right.
Front and center. And I think that's what's been great about him. And it's just a shame he can't play moving forward because he's been such a positive part of this football program in the 3 years or so, whatever he's done, 3 or 4 years. I think it's 3 that he's been there, and not just with his play. His play's been great, but just with his leadership and his maturity, and just I think he's really been a huge part of this. And I just hate it for him that he can't play. But Coach was talking at this press conference this week that he's talked to him about, going into coaching. He wants to be a coach, and Coach said he's going to have a spot as a grad assistant, at some point in that program and in the UAB program. So that was great to hear. But I hate it for him that he won't be able to play. But he's still going to do special things in the game of football. It'd just be, more as a coach as you move forward.
Yeah, definitely, Steve. Glad that you brought up TD. Hate it for him, but definitely look forward to seeing what he can do, as a coach going forward. I think he'll be a great coach.
He will be. He did, no doubt. He will be.
Well, without further ado, guys, we'll go ahead and roll our interview that we had with Evan Spencer, again from Go Tech Please Don't Die. Evan, thanks again for coming on the show. And Blazer fans, we'll be back to give you a reaction episode a couple days after the Louisiana Tech game. But nonetheless, here's our interview with Evan. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Blazer Victory Podcast, where we are pleased to be joined by Evan Spencer of Go Tech Please Don't Die. You know, Evan and the guys do a great job covering Louisiana Tech football, basketball, and everything La Tech. Go check out their podcast. You can find that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You know, like I said, they do a great job, very entertaining. And also, go ahead and hit that follow button on Twitter. Their Twitter handle is GoTech, PLSDNTDIE. And check out that website, GTPDD.dog, where they have a weekly contest going on that you can get involved in. And they also have a fantastic shop where they sell, you know, a lot of Go Tech Please Don't Die gear. So definitely go check out those sites. But Evan, how are we doing this evening, man?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure. I've listened to y'all's show a couple times, you know. Definitely the episode last year after the Tech game. That was a good one for me.
No. We like to forget that one.
I actually did listen to it too that day. I was like, ooh, I gotta take this in. But yeah, I mean, you know, personally doing pretty well. Louisiana Tech, on the other hand, not so great, but we can get into that a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, let's go ahead and just dive in. You know, right now, La Tech coming in to Protector Stadium with a 2-6 record, but I mean, that could easily be flipped to, you know, at least 6-2. I mean, La Tech has just lost so many close games. I mean, Evan, what do you think's going on down there? Is it coaching? Is it maybe multiple things? What do you think's going on at Tech right now?
Well, I mean, yeah, if you look at those close losses, right, you've got the Mississippi State loss, which we were 23.5-point underdogs, and we go into the fourth quarter with a 20-point lead and, you know, blow it. So, I mean, that's partially on coaching, obviously. That's partially on the depth of the team, not being able to hang 4 quarters with an SEC team, you know. But it also just sucks, right? Then you take SMU to the wire. You do everything possible to win that game, and then the Hail Mary deflection lands in one of their guys' hands. And, you know, I watched that one happen with my own eyes. I just recently moved to the Dallas area, so I'm close enough to have season tickets. Back at Tech again for the first time in a few years, and that wasn't great. And, you know, and then the NC State game was just a really good football game that we ultimately had the ball at the 20-yard line, down 7 points at the buzzer. And, you know, Austin Kendall tries to force a throw because it's at the buzzer. And there were some coaching things that happened there where we kind of wasted 30 seconds of the last minute of the game or so. But, yeah, I mean, so it's a little bit of everything, right? It's that we're Tech, so we have bad luck, you know how it is. Field goals at the buzzer getting blocked and whatnot. I don't know if you guys remember any of that from a few years ago out there at Legion Field. But you know, it's partially that the coaching, and then we've had some key injuries, and really lately it feels like we're just falling apart at the seams, you know, and that goes for the football team and just the general state of athletics in the, you know, national scene right now too. So a win against UAB would be great. I don't know that that's going to happen though.
Yeah, and I mean, you look specifically, you know, just at how unlucky this 2021 La Tech football team is. I mean, you know, we just mentioned the close losses. You go back to even just this past weekend, you know, losing on another last-second field goal to ODU. Like, I mean, just I don't know, man. What do you think the team's morale is coming into Birmingham? I mean, just week after week, it seems that just crushing, you know, heartbreak. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be good, right? I mean, we've lost 4 games in a row. We did not win in the month of October. You know, you go up to Old Dominion last week, kind of expecting it to be, you know, maybe one of the 2 or 3 games left that we quote unquote should win, you know, right, with UAB still on the schedule. And, you know, we've got some teams that are going to be tough, but we're also playing like USM, ODU, and Rice, you know, so maybe we'll be able to get bowl eligibility after all. And then you go out and just you just play flat the whole game. The offense never really got in sync, and the defense has been playing well enough to win outside of the UTSA game, I guess. But, it's been really tough to watch, to be honest with you, because especially that ODU game, it was just kind of boring. And I was telling the guys on our recap show the other day, like, I don't even know that I could explain what happened in that game. We just never got it together, never got going. And all of a sudden it's 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter and we're tied 20-20. Right. And it's like, how did we even get here? Like, what? It's like that freeze frame where you're like, this is me, but I don't know where I am or how I got here. Right. Like, we're tied 20-20. We're 2-5 and we're in Old Dominion, not like winning by 30 points. What is happening with our lives right now? So, I mean, I think the team morale, honestly, I don't know that we've had a 4-game losing streak under Skip Holtz. So I don't know what he's going to be saying in the locker room. I don't know how the team comes back from this, especially when you're staring, 2-7 right in the face here, playing the perennial favorites UAB, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you can look on the field after the game and just, I mean, I hate to say it, but I really felt bad for that team, because you just saw guys throwing their helmets on the ground and just, I mean, it was very sad to see, and I all my years, watching La Tech, I haven't seen that, or I can't even remember the last time that La Tech wasn't bowl eligible, to be honest. Was that before Holtz got 2013?
His first year was the only year so far where we have not been bowl eligible. And technically last year we were 5-5 after the bowl debacle, I'll say. But other than that, weird COVID 5-5 year, we have had a winning season every single year under Skip Holtz, other than that first 2013 rebuild year. So it feels like things are turning the wrong direction, fast.
Is the fan base, what does the fan base think about Skip Holtz right now? I mean, you think as a whole it's ready for a change, or kind of what's the thoughts right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were to take realignment stuff out of the equation, I think that the tide would be turning, in that direction, right? We need a change. We need new blood. Me personally, I've always been kind of look, the grass isn't always greener, especially in a G5 program with a small budget like ours is. Right. Like who are we going to go out and get who's going to replace the consistency that we've had, right? And I would take being 8-4 every year over, 1 9-3 season and 2 3-9 seasons, right?
Right.
But with that being said, I mean, like I said, it was consistency was what we were getting. We're always going to be at least in the conversation for the conference title, right? We're not necessarily going to go win it. Now, we haven't won it, and that's why people are mad, But I just look at it and I say, I mean, okay, even if we go hire the next up-and-coming guy, he's going to be gone in 2.5 years, right? Because somebody's going to hire that up-and-coming guy away from us. But I think that with realignment, it's a whole new ballgame, because it's like, can we really afford to fire a coach, both financially and optics wise in terms of recruiting and stuff like that, when we don't know what conference we're going to be in, next week. So,
right.
I think a lot of people would tell you it's time to move on, though. Once all that dust is settled, but I'm not sure if I'm there, just because, like I said, it's a matter of, also I'm of the opinion that this is the worst season. And like you guys said, it's been close, right? It could easily be, we're 5-3 right now. We're 6-2, but this past month has definitely been the roughest stretch of Tech football that I can remember, at least since that 2013 season. Definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, you take away the UTSA game. I mean, La Tech they've been in every single ball game other than that UTSA game. And really, you take away a couple plays, early on in that game, and maybe Tech's in that game. But a couple pick sixes, taken the other way, and that kind of just took Tech out of that game. But let's talk a little bit about the quarterback position for La Tech this year. A lot of Blazer fans remember Aaron Allen from last year and from 2019 that kind of did some things against UAB. And I was talking on your guys' podcast, like kind of asking where has he been? Like it seems that it's the Austin Kendall show. But you look at the ODU game where this freshman comes in, JD Head, and honestly plays really well. So what does the quarterback position look like for Tech coming into this Saturday's ball game?
Yeah, so I mean, Austin Kendall obviously transferred in. I'm not sure how familiar y'all are with his story, but basically he starts at Oklahoma, plays behind Baker Mayfield, loses the quarterback battle to Kyler Murray, just 2 Heisman Trophy winning current NFL starting quarterbacks, so no big deal. Then Oklahoma made the decision to have Jalen Hurts transfer in. So, Kendall kind of sees the writing on the wall, says, I'm going to transfer out. He started at West Virginia I believe it was the first year of Neil Brown. So West Virginia was real bad that year, and it wasn't necessarily Kendall's fault, but he also wasn't great. And so in the 2020 season, he ended up getting benched, which would have been his like real senior year. But of course, we all know the COVID rule. So he got one more year of eligibility, but ultimately actually decided to just retire from football. And he took his two master's degrees that he's got, or does he have? I guess he just has a bachelor's and a master's. But he took those 2 degrees and put them to use working in pharmaceutical sales, making 6 figures reportedly in the Dallas area. And somehow Skip and offensive coordinator Joe Sloan were able to convince him to unretire and come play for the Bulldogs. But he's been good at times, and I think really until the offensive line started falling apart against UTEP and then in our subsequent games, he's been a very good quarterback that has put us in position to win games we had no business even being in, judging by the rest of the team this year. But unfortunately, he went down with an injury last week against Old Dominion. Don't really know what his status is. It kind of sounds like he's not going to play just from the coach, the coach's report, which who knows.
Yeah.
He's listed on the depth chart as first this week, but of course, depth charts don't mean anything.
Yeah.
But as far as Aaron Allen, he's shown flashes of being a good quarterback. And I told you this, John, on our show too, that the problem is he hasn't turned those flashes into any consistency or any sort of, improvement. Right. So sometimes he can go out and ball out like he did last year against UAB. Mm-hmm. But then he also has performances like the bowl game last year was really, I think, the end for him as our future, our quarterback of the future. And what happened in that game is he single-handedly accounted for 4 turnovers in the first half. And, we're coming in high and mighty, haven't lost a bowl game since 2014. And that's just not going to get it done right from your starting quarterback. So that was also the first time we ever lost to a team that was in the current Sun Belt. We'd never been defeated by a Sun Belt team, and to come out and play like that and cause your team to lose 38-3 is not great. But it's just been, like I said, it's that lack of development, I think, that's holding him back. And JD Head came in. This is his redshirt freshman year, but with COVID, it's his true freshman year. You guys know. Yeah, it's his second year in the program, but he's technically a true freshman. So he needs to put on some weight. He needs to develop. But he makes better reads already. He throws the ball with more power already. So I think that if Austin Kendall can't go, or if Austin Kendall's limited, I think you'll probably see JD Head. And, I know you called out, John, that we called a deep bomb on a 4th down late in the 4th quarter against Old Dominion. And you were kind of like, wow, Skip has confidence in this guy. And I think that's true. I think he believes that JD Head is the quarterback of the future, and he's going to give him opportunities to go out and prove that on the field, I think.
Yeah, and I think on that on Skip's coaching show, he said that Head came up to him after that play, disappointed of course, but coach said he hits that 9 out of 10 times in practice. So that was just that one time where he missed up on that. So, but obviously really talented.
That was a dumb play call.
Oh, I agree.
That's what Evan said.
Yeah, we disagreed about it on our show. We went back and forth, and Nathan, the co-host, said he loved the call because they're not really expecting it. But look, our punter has been dropping the ball at the 1 yard line pretty consistently. So I'm just saying, make ODU, who's a terrible team, drive the ball 60 yards to get in field goal range, or 70 yards.
Yeah.
Versus only making them go 20 yards to get into field goal range with only 30 seconds on the clock. So I'm not confident we go win that game in overtime, but I'm confident that ODU would not have won in regulation if we had just punted the ball there. So I don't know.
Yeah, but even if you do go for it, move the chains. Move the chains. You don't need to hit a big ball there. You just don't need to hit it. Move the chains. Hit Griffin Abear or somebody on and move the chains. That's what you need to do. I mean, now I will say this: it is easy for us to sit where we sit and say, you should have done this, you should have done that. But I don't care if he hits it 13 out of 10 times in practice. That's a dumb call.
Yeah. We're talking about practice. Right?
Yeah, we're talking about practice. Not a game. Practice.
Oh yeah, Skip. Yeah, he had a lot to answer post game because of that. But Evan, let's talk a little bit about this running attack, rush game this year from Louisiana Tech. It's almost non-existent, but I just don't understand how the offensive line is so bad this year. I mean, we talked a little bit on your show about, they had the guy transfer out to Michigan, and then, you told me what happened there, but why is it just that he wasn't recruiting offensive line, or what's going on that offense? Is it injuries or what?
I mean, I think it's a couple of factors. I mean, last year our offensive line was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I think now you guys, I don't remember if y'all were beating us up on the offensive line or not, but this past week we progressed in that we only gave up 1 sack.
Right.
But like you said, the run game just has not been there all year. And, going into the season, we talked on our show a lot about the position groups we were most excited about and, felt like would be the most consistent moving forward. And, looking at this roster, we got Marcus Williams transferred in from App State. He was a 2-year kind of mix of a starter and a relief guy there for really his whole 4-year career up in Boone. Then we got a transfer from Vanderbilt, Keon Henry Brooks. And then we've got Greg Garner coming back. We got Harlan Dixon, a promising freshman coming in from my alma mater, Slidell High. Shout out Tigers. But, so we have 4 guys who, everybody's kind of saying, oh, we have 4 different running backs who could be starters. And then, only one of these guys has more rushing yards than Austin Kendall does. So, and that's including sack yardage, by the way. So Marcus Williams has been the guy, but even he's only averaging 4.2 yards per carry. And I think part of the problem is that the play calling at times has just been really, predictable, for lack of a better word. It's, first and second down, we're going to run, and then third down, we're going to pass because it's 3rd and 8, and it's just tough to get the offense moving like that. And honestly, what Tech is good at this year is quick passes. And that's just not the way Skip Holtz wants to coach the team, unfortunately. But the running attack and the offensive line specifically, I think it's partially that the transfers we got in this season have not really panned out. And those guys are at tackle, and that's been the problem. There's a transfer from Lehigh who's just been getting torched, constantly. There's a transfer from ULM that's been better, but still not the guy that we wanted him to be. So it's really tough to run your offense when your tackles can't block anybody, Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, very tough. And I think looking at just the year overall, I feel like Tech's only rushed for over 100 yards 2 or 3 times, and one of those was against Southeast Louisiana. So just really struggling running the ball.
And even that game, we struggled to find separation. It
was a close game. Yeah.
Yeah. And Southeastern's a good FCS team, but the fact that I even have to say that is, kind of sad, right? Jacksonville State's a good FCS team too, and y'all beat them 31-0. So,
right. Absolutely.
Yeah, shout out future CUSA member.
I was about to say
Jacksonville State.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, but I mean, I think you're right. We have not had a single 100-yard rusher this season. Marcus Williams Jr. got 99 yards against Southeastern, but other than that, I mean, we've had 2 games where the leading rusher had 42 yards. So that's just not going to get it done.
But it's so crazy though to this conversation we have about things like that. But if you finish the games we talked about earlier, if you're coming in 6-2 with wins over Mississippi State, SMU, and NC State, and you have the exact same stats, it's not as magnified. You're not talking about, boy, they can't run the ball. You're talking about how good they are. That's how crazy the just how small the margin of error is in this thing. I mean, you're talking about a 6-2 team with those wins. If they finish when they should and could have finished, and it doesn't get magnified as much. You're talking about now. You might talk a little bit about hey, they haven't ran the ball well,
here, right?
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Yeah, the winning papers over a lot of problems, right?
Yeah,
so, unfortunately, we haven't been winning. So
I know. Yeah,
the problems become even more apparent, and I think one of the things we've struggled with as a fan base is, especially early in the season where the narrative's kind of like, oh, Skip can't finish a game, and it's like, look, NC State has a top 15 defense. They just beat Clemson literally 1 week before we played them, and Clemson put up like 200 yards in that game, and of course we all know now, a month later, that Clemson's not that good this year, but still. Louisiana Tech put up more yards in the fourth quarter against NC State than Clemson did in the whole game, right? So there are promising things about this team. The frustration is that it's twofold. One, we didn't have very high expectations coming in, and then they set the bar higher for themselves by being up 34-14 against Mississippi State, right? And then by basically beating SMU, but not beating SMU,
Right.
And so we were thinking, even just 3 weeks ago, we're sitting here saying, man, we're 2-3 right now, but like this conference slate's coming up, UAB looks pretty good. UTSA looks pretty good, but I mean, we're hanging with NC State, man, who just beat Clemson. Like, we're going to be fine. Then, I mean, the wheels have just completely come off since then. So it's just like, it's been a very frustrating year because it's like, okay, I'm not going to get my hopes up too high. And then my hopes got up too high. And then now they're just being completely dashed. And we're staring at the barrel here of, maybe 4-8 at best, right? I mean, maybe. Yeah. And that's if we could beat Rice and Southern Miss, which you sit here and say, well, yeah, we're going to beat them, but Rice just beat y'all last week, so who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anybody beat anybody. I do think that there is something about Skip Holtz, though, that when you don't expect it to happen, he can make it happen somehow. And I don't know how. I don't know how. But, I mean, it's just something about it where – we're sitting there right now and you're 2-6 and you think, oh boy, this thing's terrible. And somehow he finds a way to win 4 in a row or something, and it's still scared the heck out of me. Let's put it that way. I think that this team still is very capable of being a good team. I really do.
Yeah. Definitely. They've shown flashes of being a good team. They just have not shown. It's kind of like Aaron Allen, right? They're showing flashes. They're just not putting it all together for 4 quarters against any opponent, let alone a quality opponent like UAB. So, I'd love to say you guys should be worried, but John, you can attest to this. We all just picked on our podcast UAB to win the game. So
they did.
Could I see a scenario where Tech wins? Absolutely. I mean, we've come out and we've come out and played well. And honestly, like you said, John, that UTSA game, there were a lot of just really bad mistakes early in that game that let it get away from us.
Mm-hmm.
We come out, it's 21-10 at the half, and we come out and just throw a terrible pick six to open the half after getting a stop. So I was like sitting there, hey, if we get a stop to start the second half, like I think we could be right back in it. And then lo and behold, we get the stop, and then Austin Kendall just throws a screen pass straight to two defenders who were standing there guarding the screen pass. So, and from that point it was on, right? We started fumbling kickoffs, and we started, interfering in the end zone on uncatchable balls. And, of course, CUSA refs are going to call that every time.
Yeah. And we've all seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they're not going to help out the team that's staying in the conference, right? No, they're going to help out the team that's leaving the conference. But I digress.
Yeah. We all digress on that one.
Definitely. Well, Evan, before we let you go, let's talk a little bit about just the defense, because the stats don't look great, but when you watch the film, like Louisiana Tech has a good defense, and Skip Holtz year in and year out usually has a good defense. Can you tell Blazer fans just a couple guys to keep their eyes on for this Saturday?
Yeah, I think that's an astute observation, right? Because we started out the season in September playing 4 pass-heavy offenses. Mike Leach, Mississippi State, right? Southeastern Louisiana, they're running an air raid style offense that is number 1 in FCS, right, in terms of yards produced. So, and North Texas, we all know what they're capable of from time to time. Not necessarily this year, but
and Mordecai at SMU.
Throwing
it around. So.
Right, Sonny Dykes. Tech fans are very familiar with Sonny Dykes style. So, so those defensive numbers are still a little bit skewed from that, but really, if you look at the past few games, they held NC State within reach, gave the offense a chance to win. They held UTEP after letting them score 2 touchdowns on their first 2 drives. They only allowed 3 more points the whole rest of the game, and the offense just could not score any points. The UTSA game, again, it got away from us. That's fine. But I think it's tough to say that it's like a bad defense, even though the stats kind of say that it is, right? But a few guys to look out for. I'm not sure what the status of the Bell brothers is, but they're 2 defensive linemen, Levi and Ben Bell. Both of them have been kind of banged up with injuries throughout the season, but those guys are pretty good. Definitely our best 2 threats coming out of the defensive line. You always want to look out for Tyler Grubbs, the freshman All-American linebacker from last year. He's very good, especially in the run game. Now, if you get him isolated on a slot receiver or something like that, he's going to fall apart, but y'all don't run that kind of offense, right? So he struggled in that first month that I mentioned, but since then, him and Trey Baldwin have really, really locked down the middle of the field from that linebacker position. As far as the defensive backs, Cedric Woods is another guy. He's young. He's a true sophomore, which I guess makes him a freshman. But he's been starting since day 1 at corner, and he can get picked on at times, but he's pretty solid. And then we've got a bunch of transfers in from SEC teams actually back there in the backfield. But one guy that really impressed me last week was Khalil Ladler, the transfer last year from Virginia Tech. He's back for his super senior year or whatever, and he seems to be putting it all together at the right time. So Tech's got some playmakers, but UAB's probably going to be able to move the ball. It's just going to be, are they going to make enough mistakes to let Tech stay in the game?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, do you have any other questions for Evan?
Well, I just appreciate you not mentioning B.J. Williamson, because I still have nightmares about that cat.
Oh yeah. He's here. He's kicking,
I know.
But
I know. I still have nightmares about him though. So he had a pretty fair game last year in Reston when UAB was in town. So kind of have nightmares about that guy.
No doubt.
Well, hopefully
Well,
he can
Evan?
come out and play pretty well again, but that's for my sake, not
Yeah,
for
that's
y'all's.
for you guys. I hope
Yeah, for
so.
you. Yeah,
For
hopefully
us,
not.
I don't know if I can handle that again. So
Yes. Well, Evan, thanks again for hopping on, man. Guys, you guys need to go check out Go Tech, Please Don't Die. Those guys do a fantastic job covering Louisiana Tech. And
Yeah,
I had the pleasure
if you like, a good mix of self-pity and sarcasm, and we take sports seriously. We care too much. We all admit that freely, but it's also like at the end of the day, I mean, come on, we can laugh about it too.
yeah.
It's getting harder. It's getting harder. Losing 4 games, it's getting harder. But
yeah,
we're out here making our sarcastic, witty remarks. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, give us a look, I guess.
Definitely. And go check them out on Twitter. Go Tech PLSDNTDIE on Twitter. And guys, Steve and I will be back just a couple days following the Louisiana Tech game to give you guys a reaction episode to the UAB Louisiana Tech game. But as always, we'll be back soon. And go Blazers.